Hello. Who are the we we're becoming? Welcome to the compost pile, where we address topics that explore the intersection of humanity and the natural world and celebrate the process of dynamic change that is healthy, co-creative, and great for the biosphere. I'm Laura Weber, and I'm happy to be walking through this topic of eco-justice in the time of posthumanism. In the last segment, we introduced the topic of posthumanism and its challenges for environmental justice. Posthumanism, as a philosophical worldview, is supplanting the long reign of humanism, which for centuries elevated human agency and autonomy above every other life form. By contrast, posthuman worldviews portray humanity as deeply embedded in a wider ecocentric context, part of a biospheric whole, and irrevocably enmeshed with technology. Humanity is no longer seen as the apex of a divinely ordered chain of being, but rather as part of the web of life, embedded in the fabric of creation. In the last segment, we also explored the roots of environmental justice as it relates to systemic racism, denying equal access to Earth's resources and equal protection from Earth's degradation to people of color based on inherited assumptions about a divinely ordered hierarchy or chain of being. While systemic racism has been routinely challenged and laudably denounced, it is inextricably related to embedded hierarchies in every conceivable realm of civilization, from language and hermeneutics to socio-political and economic structures, institutionalized religions, healthcare, education, and socioecology. Nothing in Western civilization escapes its assumptions and its deleterious effects. Posthumanism, which challenges embedded assumptions about anthropocentrism and hierarchies of being which pervade our global consciousness, left us with a call to not only incorporate a wider we in our systems of thinking and practice, but to begin shifting our interpretive matrix to the whole oikos, which in Greek means home, meaning the whole web of life that is the biosphere. The challenge is to give voice to the tenor, depth, nuance, and cadence of all life forms in creation when we haven't even begun to learn their names, much less their languages. Whereas environmental justice is concerned with ensuring equitable access to Earth's resources and equitable protection from Earth's degradation for all human beings, eco-justice expands the concept to the wider we. Deep ecology, as an environmental philosophy, suggests that all living beings have inherent value, regardless of their usefulness to humanity. A moral ecology, incorporating principles of eco-justice, requires a reordering of human systems that deny the inherent value of more than human beings. Eco-justice promotes the value of more than human life forms along with humanity's value and hails more than human life forms as distinct goods independent of human appraisal. They ought to be valued beyond their usefulness as resources for human consumption, manipulation, labor, or exploitation for entertainment and amusement. Antecedent spiritual and philosophical traditions have held a somewhat consistent ethical stance in favor of deep ecology and eco-justice, especially pantheistic, pagan, and shamanic traditions. Nature is honored, even revered in Eastern philosophical and spiritual traditions, notably Hinduism, Taoism, and Buddhism. Indigenous cultures on every continent have cultivated a deeply reverent and profound understanding of humanity's relationship with the natural world. Their creation stories reflect this concept of interdependence, from the ancient Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh to the Haudenosaunee Oneida story of Sky Woman and the Great Turtle. Origin stories that capture the interdependence of humanity in the natural world tell us much about why and how humanity relates with the wider we. Western philosophies and religions have held a sometimes reverential, sometimes antipathetic stance toward the inherent value and rights of creation in the more than human realm. The biblical Genesis creation mythologies, as we suggested in the previous section, have been transmitted with a hierarchical, patriarchal rendering that served to subjugate the natural world beneath its human masters and created a legacy of alienation and enmity. Yet eco-justice pioneers and eco-prophets have been calling for radical hospitality for our more than human kin, our wider we, for over a century. When Scottish-born American environmentalist John Muir worked as the reputed father of the American national parks and later co-founded the Sierra Club, American environmentalism found its grounding in the sanctuary of the land itself. When Rachel Carson's Silent Spring in 1962 warned of the dangers of the chemical pesticide DDT to all natural systems and questioned the scope and direction of modern ecology, she effectively initiated the contemporary environmental movement that inspires eco-activists all over the globe. When Aldo Leopold's land ethic was first promulgated posthumously in the Sand County Almanac in 1949, it proposed a biotic community of all living beings, known collectively as the land. Leopold thought this way of thinking and acting would constitute the next step in the evolution of human ethics. Pioneer in biodiversity, Pulitzer Prize-winning biologist Edward O. Wilson famously published his visionary magnum opus, Half Earth, Our Planet's Fight for Life, in 2016. In that work, Wilson created a moonshot goal for humanity to join together and work toward ending the threat of global extinction by setting aside half the earth for natural preservation and rejuvenation. Quote, "The earth is our home. Unless we preserve the rest of life as a sacred duty, we will be endangering ourselves by destroying the home in which we evolved and on which we completely depend." Close quote. Wilson had understood and boldly applied the principles of eco-justice in his pioneering work. Eco-justice constitutes an ethical and practical reformulation of embedded hierarchical thinking and praxis to transform systems of domination and subjugation into communities of collaboration and cohesion. Eco-justice reframes the perspective of who we are as we go about healing Earth's ills and restoring Earth's balance as a global ecosystem. Posthumanism both contributes to this reframing and poses challenges for it. First is the reframing. Posthumanism promotes the idea that humanity is not and should not be the sole proprietor of agency determining the fate of the biosphere. Leopold's land ethic and Wilson's Half Earth require a posture of humility on the part of a traditionally hubristic humanity to listen, actually. It becomes humanity's greatest challenge to learn, through whatever means of observation and communication are available to us, how to imitate nature's own processes for self-healing and rejuvenation. How will we do this if we do not learn the mother tongue, Earth's primary language of interconnection, rife with symbiotic allure, mutual protection, and astounding resilience? Second is the spate of challenges that comes with a loss of human centrism as a focal point. Learning languages of extinct or nearly extinct species is one thing. Co-creating healthy interface portals with creation that allow us to adapt our language capacities and skills for interbeing, this kind of deep learning is another project altogether, especially when our prior programming has been calibrated to promote and defend humanity's premier position of agency, embedded systems of hierarchies, domination, and subjugation. Human fusion with technology in the post-human context may actually assist us in this realm. Ironically, the cybernetic organic interface may help us learn to communicate with our more than human kin in ways we never previously conceived. We are like ChatGPT, endlessly imitating and regurgitating assumptions embedded in our programming, when what is needed is real creativity and a penchant for embracing the unknown. Programmer turned adaptive leadership trainer Dana Carroll suggests an interface with artificial intelligence might actually help liberate us from our unhealthy assumptions about our relationship with the planet. Quote, to face climate change effectively, we need to go beyond technical fixes and engage with the adaptive aspects of the challenge. We need to question our assumptions, values, and behaviors and explore how they shape our relationship with the planet and each other. We need to learn, experiment, collaborate, and find new forms of consciousness and new ways of living that are more resilient and regenerative. Close quote. The notion of sustainability is evolving beyond its anthropocentric goals, so that deep ecology and the principle of the wider we is becoming more mainstream as organizations and institutions begin responding to the claims of posthumanism. No longer can justice in any realm be viewed in a vacuum without recognizing the interconnections of all life that is in some way marginalized, excluded, demoted, muted, or made extinct due to existing systems which seek to impose or maintain hierarchies of being. What it means to be human is evolving beyond traditional anthropologies into the trans and post-human realms. We are becoming cognizant of the wider we, of our biospheric oikos, our home, as well as our irrevocable interdependence with technological biotic being. Who we are is becoming more complex, more nuanced, more necessarily co-creative and collaborative by the nanosecond. Witness the evolving field of biomimicry, that is, imitating nature to solve humanity's most pressing issues. The Institute for Biomimicry has as its self-description, quote, we are the bridge between biology and design, advancing the adoption of nature-inspired strategies to help solve the most pressing problems of our time, close quote. Nature-inspired innovators craft organizational models, business and marketing strategies, and respond to intractable technological, educational, and medical crises by imitating nature's own processes to stimulate health, resiliency, and growth. Now, what if the viewpoint became inverted, so that humanity served as a model to enhance nature's own health, resiliency, and growth? What if humanity's goal was not primarily to improve humanity, to solve humanity's intractable problems, but to focus our attention on the health and vibrancy of the whole oikos, the planetary we? What might shift in our thinking, attitudes, and basic assumptions? There are so many outstanding pioneers today in the realm of eco-justice that we can only mention a few here. Their predecessors are well known, from primatologist Jane Goodall's ongoing championing of our wildkin and the fragility and beauty of the biosphere, to Jacques Cousteau and his legendary vessel, the Calypso, deep diving through oceans to learn about the biosphere's mostly water composition and cultivate our knowledge and language affinity with our sea-dwelling wildkin. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom became a household staple of American television in the 60s and 70s with its exotic forays into the wilderness and its encounters with all creatures great and small. With the popularizing of the wild, our fascination turned to wonder, and our wonder turned to advocacy, protection, and commitment. What we learn about and embrace, we love and protect. Now, fast forward to today. The planet is in peril, and eco-justice advocates are more pronounced in our awareness and conversation due to the ubiquity of technology and social media. Even as we are losing countless species to rapid extinction due to global warming and toxicity, and biodiversity is suffering heavy losses due to planetary pollution and deforestation, we are learning more than ever about the planet we call home. Have you ever heard of the Wood Wide Web? In The Hidden Life of Trees, German forester Peter Wohlleben coined the term to describe the mycorrhizal network fungi connecting trees through tiny threads called mycelial networks. Trees communicate beneath the surface, did you know? They're the lungs of our biosphere. They breathe out or expire, and we humans breathe in or inspire. It works like that, in a cycle of breath and life. Forest ecologist Suzanne Simard, a pioneer on the frontier of plant communication and intelligence, has tree communication, learning, and memory down to a science. Her foundational research has led to the Mother Tree Project. Quote, this large-scale scientific field-based experiment was launched in 2015 with the intent of exploring how connections and communication between trees, particularly low-ground connections between Douglas fir mother trees and seedlings, could influence forest recovery and resilience. The central objective is to identify sustainable forest renewal practices that will maintain forest resilience, protect biodiversity, and support carbon storage and forest regeneration as climate changes, close quote. All this devotion to learning native otherkin languages of the trees brings another pioneer to mind. This time, it's all for the birds. Folk singer, nature conservationist, and writer Sam Lee is an avian aficionado. His stellar work with a near extinct species has led to an annual event that brings together our avian kin, the birds, and human vocalizing for a mesmerizing serenade in the dark forests of their habitat. Singing with the Nightingales is an event that celebrates our avian-human interconnection. Here's how Sam's description reads. Quote, each year for a short period from mid-April to May's end, 5,000 pairs of nightingales fly to southern England from sub-Saharan Africa. Here they take up songful residence as the males commence their famous but much unknown courtship night song. Amongst the scented blackthorn in the stillness of the spring air, we have the extraordinary privilege of seeking out these songbirds and making an auditorium of their thicket. As you, our guests, and our invited musicians, are led after dark into the woods, it is here, with ear-tingling proximity, that we are granted this exquisite opportunity to appreciate the improvised and virtuosic nature of the nightingale's song. Most significant is their ability to incorporate our music into theirs, the phenomenon which makes singing with nightingales one of the most unique and artistically profound nature experiences one can find in the world, close quote. Sam's mission captures the heart of eco-justice initiatives in a post-human context. Quote, in this time of ecological crisis, where nature and humanity have never been more severed, might this small brown bird be an unlikely mascot and reminder of how we are nature and not separate from her? For how can we protect what we don't know and care for what we don't love? Close quote. Cultural ecologist and geophilosopher David Abram is yet another pioneer in the realm of eco-justice in a post-human context. David's books, The Spell of the Sensuous and Becoming Animal, an Earthly Cosmology, sparked a generation of environmentalists who understand that our perceived separation from the natural world has led to our consummate devastation. Without learning the languages of the stones, wildkin, and arbor elders, we are lost. Without the mother tongue, the lingua terra, Earth's own language, which is creation's own song, we are deaf to the cries of all our relations, all our wildkin. As a senior visiting scholar in ecology and natural philosophy at Harvard University, Abrams writes, his work engages the ecological depths of the imagination, exploring the ways in which sensory perception, language, and wonder inform the relation between the human body and the breathing earth, close quote. David's Alliance for Wild Ethics embraces a radically transformed sense of matter in the created world and encourages advocates to drink from the wellsprings of other than human wisdom, how we are to live healthfully and interdependently in the biosphere. quote, to provoke deeply felt shifts in the human experience of nature, close quote. AWE, the Alliance for Wild Ethics. AWE's mission is, quote, motivated by a love for the more than human collective of life and for human life as an integral part of that wider collective. We work to revitalize local face-to-face community and to integrate our communities perceptually, practically, and imaginatively into the earthly bioregions that surround and support them, close quote. Perhaps more than any other modern voice in the tapestry of eco-justice is the consummate Earth Poet Laureate, Mary Oliver. Mary's poetry captures the harmonics of lingua terra, the language of the earth, in a way that is at once haunting and sensual. In the legacy of the great Romantic poets, Mary's verses remind us that the mother tongue is the language of earth, the language of love, the language of life, the language of energy. As we conclude this section, let's allow these words to settle, percolate, and fuse us with the wider we that is our common home, our Oikos. We are all connected, and what better way to remember than to spend a summer day with creation? The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild, precious life?